Coming up, the bird family heads to Australia in search of giant cuttlefish and sea dragons. Welcome to Jonathan Bird's Blue World.
I love seahorses, and I've filmed many different species all over the world. I've always wanted to see a leafy sea dragon, which is almost certainly the rarest, most spectacular seahorse in the world. They're only found in one place, the waters of southern Australia. It's summer vacation, and the whole family is joining me on a Blue World expedition to South Australia. The kids have never been on a flight this long. We're traveling to the other side of the world, from Boston all the way to Adelaide, with a stop in Dubai. It's 2 12-hour flights back to back.
We just flew from right here on the map to Dubai, right here, and then to Adelaide.
Well, it took 30 hours, but we made it to Adelaide, South Australia. Sleeping on a plane is difficult, so we're totally exhausted. But we still have to load our rental van and drive down to our rental house in Rapid Bay. Rapid Bay is a beautiful place located 100 kilometers south of Adelaide. We rented a house right on the ocean. It's windy and not that warm. It may be summer at home, but here in the southern hemisphere, it's winter. There's not much between Rapid Bay and Antarctica, except ocean. The next morning, we make a run up to Adelaide for scuba tanks. Then, it's over to the dive site, the Rapid Bay Jetty. The roads are a blast, even if I am in a minivan. But I have to remember to drive on the left. Well, I finally made it to the jetty here in Rapid Bay in South Australia, one of the best places in the world to find one of the rarest seahorses in the world, the Leafy Seadragon. The jetty in Rapid Bay was originally built for loading limestone from the local quarry onto cargo ships. The quarry up on the hillside is still here, but no longer used. The original jetty fell into disrepair, but it was so popular with the locals for fishing that they spent $3 million building a new one just for recreation. It's popular with fishermen and divers. We meet up with Daniel Canaz, a local dive instructor. As a local expert, he knows how to find the sea dragons. We take a quick walk down the jetty while Daniel explains the dive to me and Christine. Then, it's time for everyone to suit up. Christine and I are putting on our dry suits. Dry suits are kind of a pain, but it beats being cold. The kids, unfortunately, don't have dry suits yet, so they'll have to dive in wetsuits. But hey, they're kids, they can take it. The water's only 55 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 13 degrees Celsius. Chilly. It's time for a long walk down the jetty. Or should I say, a long walk off a short pier. Fortunately, when they built the jetty, they kept divers in mind, so there's a nice staircase right into the water. The wind is howling and the water is rough, but in we go. As we sink down, I'm a little disappointed by the visibility. We knew it would be cold, but we didn't count on a storm churning up the sediment. I can barely see Daniel ahead of me as we begin our search for leafy sea dragons. We're hunting in the seaweed because that's where their camouflage allows them to hide the best. After what seems like forever, we finally find one. It's not easy to film in the surgy conditions, but this is a master of camouflage, looking exactly like a drifting piece of seaweed within the seaweed garden on the ocean floor. Obviously, this is not an animal designed for speed. No seahorses are fast, but this one is positively sluggish with all those leafy projections. But who needs to be fast when you can blend in? Predators just don't see the leafy sea dragon. This sea dragon does use whatever speed it has to try to escape the glare of my bright lights. But once it figures out that I'm not going to hurt it, the sea dragon relaxes a little bit and allows me to get in for some close-ups. I don't even notice the cold water when I'm filming something awesome like this. Once we know how to find them, they're easier to spot. Elise finds a pair of smaller ones. These conditions can't be easy for the little sea dragons. With the kids in wetsuits, they get cold fairly soon, so we head back out of the water. The kids are cold, but excited. We hoof our gear back to the van. Shore diving is a lot of work. Now for our least favorite part. Australia is an awesome place to scuba dive. But when most people imagine diving in Australia, they think of the Great Barrier Reef in Queensland. Sure, it's one of the most famous reef systems in the world, stretching more than 1,000 miles, and the water is warm. But there's also great diving down in the colder water of South Australia. Near Whyalla, there are giant cuttlefish. And south of Adelaide, leafy sea dragons. And in the tiny town of Edithburgh, a jetty. But this plain-looking jetty is one of the best dives in Australia. The adventure begins in Adelaide. The whole family is joining me on a South Australia dive trip. We begin with a hike in Whyalla Conservation Park, just outside Adelaide. We're hiking up into the hills to see some waterfalls. And while I like a good hike now and then,
I would say that scuba diving is easier in general.
But the view from the top makes it worth the effort. And on the way down, we find that lovable symbol of Australia, a koala sleeping in a tree. But then we pile into the van for a 4-hour drive to Edithburgh. Edithburgh and its jetty originally were established to export grain and salt from the region. Now this quaint coastal town on the windy York Peninsula is also known for its 55-turbine wind farm and fantastic scuba diving. The dive at the jetty is good anytime, but at night the really cool stuff comes out, so I'm waiting for sunset.
The dumpling squid or the bobtail squid, they sometimes start to come out early on. There's some seahorses there.
After dark, local expert dive master Daniel Kinaz walks me through the dive plan, and we suit up.
Adjust things and relax.
The water's chilly, but shallow, so we can stay a long time looking for cool critters if we bundle up under our dry suits.
You gotta love this. It's a beautiful night in South Australia. The air is calm, there's no wind, there's no waves, just perfectly crystal clear water. I have a feeling this dive is going to be really, really good. In Australia, they're so considerate of divers. We have all these nice jetties, nice place to put your tank to suit up, stairs right into the water. Seems like in Australia they appreciate scuba divers more than in other places.
Oh yeah.
Because you made it sound very easy. So this is apparently, according to Daniel, one of the best places in the whole world to find the pajama squid. Now, as you know, I love cephalopods, and I've never seen a pajama squid. And in fact, I've only seen pictures, and that's how I know what they look like. And they are really cool. So hopefully we're gonna find them.
And with a few final touches, I'm ready to go look for the pajama squid.
Look at this. This doesn't get any easier. Diving in Australia, man. Steps.
At the bottom of the steps, Daniel and I flop into the 52-degree Fahrenheit water and submerge. As I sink down into only 3 meters of water, I immediately start finding stuff. The bottom is crawling with sea stars. The 6-armed cushion star, a curled up 11-armed sea star, a biscuit star, and a brittle star on the run from my bright lights. There's a sea urchin with a crown of purple tunicates. And a couple of nudibranchs, basically snails without a shell. A smooth anglerfish is waiting patiently for a meal. The anglerfish is the Australian term for what is known as a frogfish in many places. Daniel points out the rarely seen southern velvetfish. This highly camouflaged fish is related to scorpionfish, so it has venomous spines in its dorsal fin for defense. It's a camouflaged ambush predator, waiting patiently for prey to come close. Nearby in the seaweed, a well-camouflaged short-headed seahorse. It's a male with a belly full of eggs. With seahorses, the male carries the eggs in a pouch until they hatch. This species of seahorse is perfectly adapted to live camouflaged within this seaweed. A short distance away, another animal with amazing camouflage. On a finger sponge, a spider crab using algae and seaweed as a disguise. On the columns of the jetty, a rich collection of colorful sponges, and among them, another spider crab. But instead of algae, this crab has covered itself in sponges to blend in. And at the base of one of the columns in the sand, I come across this little guy, smaller than a golf ball. Known as a southern bobtail squid, it's part of the family of cephalopods known as bobtail squid, which are in fact not squids at all. They're small cuttlefish. It's a minor distinction, but that means they have a cuttle bone inside for buoyancy. Like squid, they can jet around with squirts of water. They can swim with the two fins on the front of their body, and of course, they can crawl around on their arms. Bobtails have a unique way of hiding from predators. They burrow into the sand so that only their eyes are left sticking out. As I get deeper, working my way out towards the end of the jetty, I come across this amazing and rare octopus. The southern sand octopus is only found in the waters of southern Australia and Tasmania. It's unique in being one of the few octopods that lacks chromatophores, color-changing skin cells. So it has no ability to camouflage itself by adapting its color to its surroundings. As a result, it only comes out to hunt in the dark. During the day, it would be easy prey for a fish. This octopus is crawling through the rubble and algae looking for a crab or a shrimp to eat. But when it comes time to hunker down for the day, this octopus does something surprising. Using its siphon, It blows water down into the sand, creating a soupy mixture of sand in suspension with water, sort of like quicksand. Then it drops into the quicksand and keeps blowing water, making the hole deeper and deeper. While many octopods are known to cover themselves with a thin layer of sand for camouflage, this is the only species known to actually burrow. This octopus may dig down as deep as 20 centimeters, using its long, thin arms to keep a breathing hole open to the surface. I guess this guy has decided I'm not much of a threat. This is as far as he digs for me tonight. I must have hit Octopus Central out here by the end of the jetty. The southern keeled octopus can change colors and tends to be found out on the sand hunting shrimp. This one is a bit smaller than my hand and doesn't seem to be afraid, but rather just hoping I will go away. As I turn to make my way back towards shore, I finally find a pajama squid. These tiny cephalopods, only the size of a golf ball, get their name from their classic pajama stripes. Like the bobtail squid, it's actually a cuttlefish. Shrimp at night, sometimes eating shrimp almost as large as itself. Many animals in the ocean that have bright coloration like this are advertising that they're poisonous. It's called aposematic coloration. It turns out that the pajama squid secretes a slime that many animals find objectionable, a type of mild poison that helps make this cuttlefish unappetizing. Sometimes the pajama squid wants to hide, either to wait for prey or to escape annoying underwater photographers. In this case, it can bury itself up to the eyeballs quickly. As I finally get back to the steps where I started the dive, I can't believe what I find in such shallow water. A pair of bobtail squid mating right under the steps. Since I've never seen this before, I have no idea how long it will go on, but the male holds on to the female for the whole process. Since they're so still, I can get the camera up really close and I can see the chromatophores in their skin, slightly changing size to create different patterns and colors. Cephalopods are cool, and this has been a great cephalopod dive. Finally, after more than 90 minutes filming marine life, it's time to head up. Even in the 52-degree water, I'm not cold, but I am almost out of air.
Man, that was awesome. It really was more like a muck dive than it was a dive under a jetty, because everything that was really cool was in the muck or in the sand, but lots of cephalopods, nudibranchs, sea stars, all kinds of great stuff.
The Australian giant cuttlefish is the largest cuttlefish in the world, reaching a total length of nearly a meter. Using color-changing skin cells called chromatophores, this mysterious master of camouflage can be very hard to see. But this curious cephalopod may just come over to see you. Between May and August, tens of thousands of these cuttlefish aggregate to spawn in the waters of South Australia. One particular place, Point Lowly, near the city of Whyalla, is known around the world as the place to see Australian giant cuttlefish. We load the minivan and then embark on a 6-hour drive to the beautiful and remote town of Point Lowly, located on a peninsula with a lighthouse at the end. We drive down the peninsula looking for a famous shore diving site.
Well, we made it to Point Lowly. Supposedly there's a dive site around here with a bunch of cuttlefish. I'm just not sure exactly how we find it.
But before we go diving, we need to find our home for the next few days. We rented a house on the beach, about a mile from the dive site. And what a spot!
I have to say, this is an awesome little dive prep area.
And this is the best part of the house because look at this view, man.
As the sun sets over the lighthouse, we plan for our dive with the cuttlefish tomorrow.
All right, you guys ready?
Thrilled. Yeah, let's get my boot.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
You're about to see the world's largest known cuttlefish aggregation. I know. All right, let's do it. Let's go.
We hop in the van for the short ride down the street to the dive site. Christine and I are ready for the 12 degrees Celsius water with our dry suit undergarments ready to go. A dirt road leads down to the water. I've never seen such nice provisions for divers. A pavilion for changing and rinsing gear, plus a walkway right down to the water. It doesn't get any better than this. So we waste no time getting suited up. Summer at home is winter in Australia, and the brisk wind here comes off Antarctica. It's sunny, but it's not warm. Elise and Liam are in wetsuits, so they're not going to last long in this water before they're cold. But they came all the way to Australia to see some cuttlefish, so they're ready. We walk down into waist-deep water and put on our fins. Then we only have to swim out a little ways to get into water deep enough to submerge. We start seeing cuttlefish immediately. In fact, it turns out that most of them are in water no more than 4 meters deep. You really don't even need dive gear. You could see them with a snorkel. We have definitely crashed the party. 2 big males are engaged in a dance-off. Each one is trying to look more colorful and flamboyant than the other. These non-violent battles are all about impressing the females and intimidating rival males. They keep an eye on us, but mostly they keep an eye on each other, trying to see who has the better colors. Color-changing cells in the cuttlefish's skin are normally used for camouflage, but during the mating season they're used like a neon sign to advertise awesomeness. Sometimes tempers flare and the males take a swing at each other. But eventually, if he's lucky and persistent, a male attracts the attention of a female.
The females are easy to identify because they're much smaller than the males. Once he has a willing female partner, the male must still fend off other males looking to try stealing her away. Later, the male and female will mate. But even then, there's no privacy, and the pair still has to keep an eye out for other males on the prowl. Sometimes the big males get so preoccupied with showing off that they fail to notice smaller males sneaking in behind their backs to mate with the females. These smaller males, aptly called sneakers, are often quite successful. Eventually, the female deposits her fertilized eggs in deep holes under rocks, where they will be safe from at least some predators. They will hatch in 3 to 5 months. Sadly, because the cuttlefish do not eat at all during the spawning season, they get weaker and weaker, slowly metabolizing their own bodies to stay alive. Once the mating is done and the eggs are laid, all the cuttlefish die. Although the cuttlefish spawning is still going strong, the kids are getting cold, so it's time to head out of the water.
So here's the thing. Cuttlefish. First of all, they're not fish. And second of all, they don't cuddle. So I'm not quite sure. I guess they cuddle each other.
Back at the house, I find a cuttlebone on the beach.
Most cephalopods don't have any bones, but the cuttlefish is different. The cuttlefish is the only cephalopod that does have a hard bony structure in its body, this thing called a cuttlebone. But unlike a normal bone, it's not heavy. This thing is light as a feather because this calcium bone-like structure is actually filled with micro air bubbles. It's sort of like a piece of foam. And what it does is it provides buoyancy for the cuttlefish. This thing floats like a cork, and it helps them maintain neutral buoyancy without having a swim bladder like a fish.
Since I'm finding cuttlebones on the beach behind our house, that gets me thinking.
So about a half a mile up the coast is the famous cuttlefish dive site where the cuttlefish are supposedly doing their thing. But we noticed way down the beach in front of the house that we rented, we noticed that there are cuttlefish bones, cuttlebones, everywhere, which means there's probably cuttlefish right out there. What I want to know is, are they reproducing all along this whole beach, or are they really only down there for some special reason? So today I'm going to do a dive and see what I find.
I suit up for a shore dive to find out if there are any cuttlefish here. The wind has come up. It will be a little surgy underwater, but I don't need to go far. They're either here or they aren't. I submerge as soon as I get deep enough to swim and kick out over a rocky bottom. So far, there's nothing to see but rocks. When I reach a depth of about 3 meters, I enter a zone of algae and rope sponges. So far, no cuttlefish. Wait a minute, what's that? There's one. And another. And another. This place is crawling with them. They like the depths around 10 feet deep, just like at the other dive site, and there's definitely nothing magical about that particular site. This whole bay is filled with cuttlefish. They are mating and depositing eggs. After a few minutes, I head back to the beach and carefully trudge out of the ocean, trying not to trip. My mission, a success. South Australia is a wonder of nature. It's the only place in the world where large numbers of giant Australian cuttlefish are known to aggregate and spawn. It's one of the best places to see leafy sea dragons. And the jetties provide amazing shore dives where we can find all kinds of amazing animals within a short swim to shore. For someone traveling from the other side of the world, it's a long trip, but it's well worth it to witness such amazing spectacles in the blue world. Hey everyone, thanks for watching our latest episode all the way to the end. You're crazy if you don't subscribe. Hit that subscribe button now so you won't miss our next episode. And check out our merch link in the description for some Blue World swag.